Hi there, David here from daviddumaiaudio.com, and in this video, I would like to do a redesign of the flatline from the video game Apex Legend. If you don't know what that is, it is a gun from the video game, and basically what I'd like to do in this video is actually play you the original game audio from the game itself, and then show you my redesign, how I created it, going through layer by layer, how I created it using some synthesized material, some stuff around my house. And basically what I wanted to really do in this redesign is challenge myself to not use gunshot recordings to do the gunshot redesign. So that's what I'm hoping for in this video. That's hopefully you can learn something by watching. So before we actually jump in though, like I said before, my name's David and I like to create sound effects. And if you also are a sound designer who likes to create sound effects, I have a little gift for you. It is my 5 layering techniques guide. It's a little guide that I put together, a free PDF of 5 different layering techniques that I use constantly to create sound effects. And I've also studied and seen other professionals use these techniques as well. So I kind of condensed it all together into one little PDF to go through them so that you can learn how to hopefully layer a little bit better and create better sound effects. So if you want to grab that, the links will be in the description below and it'll be absolutely free. All right, let's get into our project. All right, so here we are in the project, and like I said, what I like to do first is to play you the original game audio, then I'll play you my version, and then we'll go through layer by layer how I created my redesign. So here is the original game audio from the game itself. Awesome. So that's good. Now I'm going to play you my redesign. And just keep in mind, like I said before, my challenge for myself for this video was to not use any gun recording. So here we go. This is my redesign. Let's hear it one more time. Perfect. All right, so that is my redesign. So let's go through it layer by layer and see how I created it. Before we jump in though, I'm just going to show you around my session a little bit here so we know what we are looking at. So right up here, I have my gunshots. And these are actually, I created in a separate project tab up here. So I'm going to actually show you that in that separate project tab to show layer by layer how I created that. Then I have them down, broken down here into just like the rapid fire section. So I basically just copy and pasted it so that I could go through that section so that they're not like overlapping and it's a bit more clean. So that's what this section here is. After that, down here, I have my tail sounds. That's what these are here. This is all the tail sounds from shooting the gun because we are in this outdoor environment. And then after that, we have our reload sound. So everything down here is like a reload sound down here, and then the reload sound from after the gun is fired. And then I also, I mean, just for fun, I also put a bit of ambient sounds here. So we'll go over those as well. All right, let's start with the gunshot sound. So here is the gunshot sound that I created. So let's hear it. All right, so let's listen to the original, and then I'll play back mine. So there's a few things that I was looking at and I was trying to emulate from the original here. One is that I wanted to have that deep impact of the gunshot. And then the other thing is, if you look at the video here, you can see that there's this like, I mean, I don't know guns that well, but there's like this little trigger part here that pulls back every time there's a shot fired. And so I wanted to have some sort of mechanical sound to show that. So that's what I was trying to do. So if we listen again, you should hear like a kick, some sort of a kick sound, and then also have this mechanical clicking sound of this clicking back and forth. So let's go over how I created this sound here. So I'm going to pop over to my next tab and we'll go over that. All right, so here is the shot that I created layer by layer. So let's have a listen here. Okay, so there's 2 parts of this gunshot. One is the mech layer, which is up here. And that's what I was doing for this little clicking sound. Nothing too crazy here. It's just some recordings I did around my house. If you want to see how I created these, I'll put a link up in the cards. for a video that I created showing how I created these kinds of mechanical gun sounds. All right, but the core and body of the shot is right here. So let's listen to this. Okay, so let's break this down layer by layer here. All right, so for my bus, I just have a limiter here just to make sure nothing peaks, but that's pretty much all this is doing up here. All right, let's listen to this first layer here. These are just kick samples that I had in my personal library that I imported. So it sounds like that. Okay, next layer I have here, I think is the same idea here. I had just a different kick. And it basically emphasizing a different frequency. So together they sound like this. Perfect. Next, again, another kick here. This one I put on some EQ just to cut a bit of the lows, probably because it was already covered with this first layer up here. So all together here. It sounds like that. Now this third layer here. So this one I was going for a lot more higher frequency. So you can see here I did a lot of cutting out all of the lows because I just didn't want that, didn't need it. And I also brought in the width here and made sure everything was centered just to make it a bit more focused. All right, next final layer here. Again, also for these higher frequencies. So if I play it all together now. Right, so that is the gunshot sound. It's nothing too crazy. It's just basically layering a bunch of kicks together until I got something that was somewhat similar to the original sound. All right, so once I had that, I just imported it in here. And like I said before, and then I kind of copied and pasted them in here. Right, so I marked on the original track where all the shots were, and that's what all these markers are doing here. So I didn't have to like guess where the gunshots were, and then I could just copy and paste everything over on the track, just like this. So this is the rapid fire section, and there's a few things here that I was looking for when I created this. So for most guns, or from what I've seen, is normally before they go into this rapid fire session here, they always have the first gunshot sound that is a lot louder than the rest. So if you look here in the original, this up here, this green track is from the original game. You can see this first one is a lot louder, and it's the same shot as the previous shots, and then it goes into these different sounds here. So you can see this is the original shot. It's also the same as the ones before, but it's after that you go into these different samples that are used to create the gunshot sound. So that was also my idea when I was creating this section. I had my original sounds up here, and then once I went into this rapid fire session, I wanted to have different sounds. So I used these different samples to create this session here. So I'm using different samples. They're still kick samples, and then I still have the same mech layer, but I am playing a bit with some automation to make sure that the volume changes over time, and then I'm also, I think I might be automating some other parameters. Let's have a look here. Yeah, so I have a manipulator on one of these tracks. So this one here, this is just more of a design element here when I'm bringing down the harmonic. But on this bottom track here, I'm actually automating this format over time so that it increases and rises in pitch as the magazine is running out of ammo here. Right, and you can hear that as the gunshots get louder and louder, or as it goes nears the end of the clip here, you have the mechanical sounds coming in and taking over the body of the sound. And this is very common, and I was trying to imitate the same thing that the original game does, which is this. Right, and you can hear it right around here. You can start to hear and even see that in the waveform that it starts to get the mechanical sounds start to be brought up in the mix a lot more. So that's what I was doing here. It's the exact same idea. So you can see here I'm automating the volume. So the volume around this section here starts to get higher for the mechanical sounds. And then I'm also rising in pitch as well. All right, so that's pretty much it for this section. I didn't go in and create some variations with these sounds. I probably should have, because it sounds very kind of machine gun-ish and it's not very nice. So I could definitely go into more detail work in this section, but I left it as is for now, and that's what I had here. Another sound effect that I had was this sound here at the end. And this was just to signify like the end of the clip. You can barely hear it. It's just kind of this additional layer that I had on top just to add to the mechanical sound to signify that it was the end of that click and that the gun needed to be reloaded. All right, so that is the rapid fire sound. Let's go into our tail sounds now. So for these, let's have a listen to what it sounds like. So this one was a little crazy to make. So there's a lot going on here. So one of the things that's actually happening is, where is it here? Okay, so I used this sound file here, and I basically copy and pasted it down over like this for these sounds. So again, for the initial 3 sounds, because they were more spaced out, I had the space to put them on different tracks. But for the bottom one here, so this one I put all onto one single track, because this was the rapid fire section. So I knew that for this section, I didn't want to hear very much of this sound at all, because I wanted the sound of the main shots being fired to be heard. So this section, I still want it to be present, but I want it to be brought down low in the mix. So I brought it all on one track, and what I did is I automated some of the parameters to make that happen. So let's have a look here. So the first thing that you'll notice here is that I'm actually using a track spacer for this entire bus, for the entire group here of all the tail sounds, because I want to make sure that the gunshots are what are being heard. So I don't want the gunshots here to be masked by the tail sounds. So the tail sounds are getting cut out from the main gunshot. So that's what's happening here. So that's why you get this kind of pumping effect. The pumping effect is coming from my gunshot cutting out these frequencies from the tail sounds. Okay, and then after that, what I did is a bit of automation. So you can see here, I did some automation for track spacer. And let's have a look here. So what I did is I brought down the ratio a little bit so that there was less masking going on. But I also brought down this neutron. Let's see what this one's doing here. So this is my EQ for the tail sounds. So what I'm doing here is I'm bringing down this low shelf so that it's cutting out all the lows, because I don't want that to be masking the main shots, because the main shots are very bassy and low in frequency. I don't want the tail sounds to be masking those. I want them to be completely out of the way. So that's why I'm bringing this in here. And then once the rapid fire section is done, then I can go back up with this, because then I know that it's not a big deal that they're masking anymore. Right, so if we play together, so we can hear how it sounds. Right, so for the rapid fire section, I really wanted this part, the gunshots, to be the main focus, not so much the tails, because I knew that shouldn't really be the focus. So that's why I brought this down. So I'm actually going to play it without track spacer on, so that you can actually hear the difference that it makes, and even without the EQ, so you can hear what I'm actually doing with these automations here. Right, so without it on, you just hear a lot of tail, a lot of reverb, and it's just way too much. It's really, it's just way too much. It's taking up way too much space in the sound. So with track spacer on now, it's a little bit better. It sounds more like it's the reverb is a reflection off of these mountains area here, or this rocky area here, rather than just this reverb sound. And then again, with the EQ on now, it should clean out this middle section even more. right? So it just makes it really clean. Yeah, it's still there, it's still present, but it's mostly the highs, which is fine because this gunshot is a lot of low and mids. So it just works out and balances out the sound just fine. So this is what I was doing here. This was a lot of work to put together just to make it kind of sound decent. But yeah, this is pretty much it for this section here. All right, let's look at some of the reload sounds here. So this one, let's play this here. These are just 2 sounds. And these are just reload sounds that I created using different items around my house. Like I said before, I'll put a link in the, or a card up above in the video so that you can see how I created them if you want to watch the video. Pretty simple. And I just basically just imported these 2 in here to match the video. And that's pretty much it here. And then I just copy and pasted this here to over here so that it's because it's the same sound, the same animation. All right, let's have a listen to what else is going on here. So I have this one sound here. This is just the player throwing out, I guess, the magazine. So it's just some clicky mechanical sounds. And then I have these sounds here. So let's go through these one at a time. So here, this layer. Then this layer. So this layer, obviously at higher frequencies. This one is a bit lower frequencies. And then I wanted to fill it out a bit more. So this sounded okay, but I wanted to be a bit more fuller sound. So I added this one. I put in a bit of, cutting out a bit of frequencies here that I thought were not nice. And then this layer here. Sounds more like a Foley layer. Okay, so now all together with these. Sounds a lot fuller, a lot more, yeah, just a lot fuller. And that's it for the reload sounds here. All right, so this is pretty much it for the redesign. The ambience here is very, very low in the mix here. I even cut it out completely in this middle section because there was already a lot of noise. And it wasn't going to be heard anyway, so I just cut it out completely, brought it back in here at the end. And this is just an ambience recording that I took at my home outside. All right, so that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to play through the original game audio here one more time, and then play you through mine as well, and then we'll go from there. All right, so that is it. Just one more thing I'm going to say. I don't remember if I had said this, but if you want to learn more about how I created these gunshot tail sounds, I'm going to put a card above. I made a video about how I created these from scratch using items in my own library and probably sound effects that you already have in your own library, and how you can create these kinds of sounds as well. So without having to go and record your own gun sound. So yeah, that's it for now. Yeah. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful and valuable to see my process, to see how I design this layer by layer from scratch using just sounds that I had around my house, some synthesized sounds, and yeah, just layering them together to create this final product. So hopefully it inspires you, and hopefully you've learned something along the way. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I always read them and do my best to answer them. And just a reminder to grab that free PDF. In the link will be in the description below. All right, so that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.